And we're back. It is 5 minutes past 9 o'clock here on True Taos Radio. It is Thursday, October 30th. Joining me in studio from Taos Mainstreet, Charles and Arcenio. Good morning, guys.
Good morning, Howie.
Thanks for being here again. Episode 3, are we calling it, of Mornings on Mainstreet?
That's correct.
Excellent. So we talked about it last month, and we'll talk again about what our goal is here with Mornings on Mainstreet. We're going to do it once a month. We're likely going to do it the third Tuesday of every month from 9 until 10. I know today's Thursday. This is an exceptional month. But once a month, you'll be hearing from Charles and Arcenio and guests. We had a couple of guests last time. We did this for episode number 2, and I'm looking forward to what's in store for Mornings on Mainstreet Radio here on True Taos Radio. So like we did for episode 2, Charles, I would love for an introduction to Taos Mainstreet and what your role is, why we're doing this radio show, and then we'll get into today's topics.
Great. And thank you once again for having us back on 93.5 KNCE True Taos Radio. We're thrilled about this partnership. We're excited about this show. The first episode really was just kind of a reintroduction, an overview of Taos Mainstreet, how it works, how it's connected to, a larger Main Street movement across the country. In the second episode, we brought in, Ilona Spruce and Jesse Hook, who really talked to us about tourism, destination stewardship. That was a really great episode. I actually had a lot of feedback from folks that saw clips on social media from it that then went and watched the whole show, and
Nice.
they found it quite fascinating. Really, the overall goal of the show is to help build the movement to really revitalize our downtown. I think it's not just about Taos Main Street as an organization. We want to highlight people, projects, events, activities, individuals, organizations, everybody who really is contributing to these larger goals and these bigger ideas of how we actually revitalize the heart of our town.
Yeah, you talked about a Main Street network, a larger effort nationally. How do you kind of describe in your elevator pitch what really Main Street, the organization, is about?
So yeah, again, part of a large network. Main Street America exists in communities all across the country. New Mexico Main Street is the coordinating program here in our state. There's 32 programs currently in the state of New Mexico. Taos Main Street is one of those programs. Each Main Street program, while there are plenty of common threads, it does look different in each community. Sure. Because the needs, the physical makeup of their downtowns are different.
Yeah. What are some of the other communities that have a Main Street affiliate?
So in our state, just some of our neighbors that are close to us, Los Alamos, Raton, Mora, Gallup, Farmington, Grants, out west, Tucumcari. I mean,
So like you said, totally different types of downtowns, types of main streets. Where we have the Plaza, folks will have a Main Street, and everyone takes a different approach to how to revitalize or vitalize. Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct. And we really break our work. Strategy is important for us. And so we really spent a lot of time refining our strategic approach to our work. So we kind of have, a four-pillared approach, and I'm not going to do a deep dive on that. We talked a little bit about that in the pilot, but, first off is really vibrant and inclusive civic space. It's ensuring that our downtown is welcoming, it's inclusive, it's a space where everybody feels comfortable, and it's a place where people want to spend time. Our second strategy is about a dynamic, creative economy. I think there's a lot of that already exists in our downtown, but we really want to lean into that more. There's a lot of trends happening nationally and even within the state. Their creation of the creative industries division at the state, they're really looking at ways to inject more investment into the creative economy statewide. So we're really trying to bolster the creative and dynamic component to our economy in the downtown area. Third is really about destination stewardship. It is about responsible tourism in a community-centered district. So we want to make sure that tourism is an active contributor to the vitality of our downtown. It's not necessarily just a stop for tourists to kind of shop and take some photos, but that, the resources that come into our community through tourism should continuously be reinvested into our downtown and ensure that there's a good reciprocal relationship between tourism and locals and investment in our downtown.
Yeah.
And the fourth strategy is really just about, the jingoistic term in the nonprofit world is capacity building. We see it as a little bit bigger than that. We see it as movement building. It's a movement across the country to do this work. However, the stuff that we're talking about, I think, requires a movement even within our community. So it requires more than just Mainstreet as an organization. It requires government partners. It requires businesses. It requires community members and other organizations who are really, contributing to this big idea, this big action, this big movement of revitalizing downtown.
No small undertaking by any stretch in any community. Here in Taos, we all know it, what it takes to kind of thrive. It's kind of a rugged environment, figuratively and literally, here in northern New Mexico. And it takes a certain amount of willpower and perseverance to kind of keep a community strong. And I grew up in the suburbs of New Jersey, where the community was kind of already there. There's such an infrastructure, and it's just kind of easy to do things. Moving out here now, all these years later, I still realize what it takes to just kind of keep a community together. And because I live in the downtown area, I'm sensitive to the work Mainstreet is doing, and a lot of the other folks who are involved to just keep downtown thriving or just moving along.
Yeah, it really does take a community-wide effort. And if it was easy, every little town in all across the state and all across America would have a thriving, booming downtown.
Right.
That's obviously not the case, so that's why we're here to do that work.
Mornings on Mainstreet underway, episode number 3. Charles is in studio from Taos Mainstreet. Arcenio is here too. We haven't said hello yet. Hey, Arcenio.
Good morning, Howie.
So since episode 2 was about 5 or 6 weeks ago, what's been going on? Have you completed any project or undertaken any work, gotten the word out about stuff in town since we last spoke?
Sure. One thing that I always want to highlight is, if you really want to stay plugged into what's going on with Mainstreet as an organization, but maybe even more importantly, like what's going on downtown on a weekly and monthly basis, check out our website. That's taosmainstreet.com. Sign up for our newsletter. You can find us on social media, both Facebook and Instagram at Taos Mainstreet. We really have developed a great partnership with the Bent House creative team, and they do an amazing job at helping us keep our ear to the ground. So the newsletter and social media is constantly updated with information. And I think a lot of people tend not to quite realize how much stuff actually happens in our downtown on a daily and weekly basis. So again, to stay tuned in and plugged into everything that's going on down there, use those resources.
Yeah.
Check the website, check the social media, check the newsletter.
Great to hear that you're working with Bent House, because not only do they do great work and have their ear to the ground, but they're right in the heart of town on Bent Street, and they can speak to it as well as anyone what's happening in the downtown area, the historic district. We look at the Live Taos calendar here on KNCE every day and every hour throughout the day, and it just blows me away how much is going on, especially a weekend like this where there's so much activity around Halloween and all the events. And you're right, there's plenty going on in downtown, and again, because I live there, I get to see it, and it's one of the reasons I stay down there. It really is more more vibrant, I think, than people realize, and I'm so glad that there's people paying attention to this and putting some effort into it. What else has been going on downtown? I do look at the newsletter. I don't read the entire thing, I have to confess, but I do skim it, and I'm always blown away at how much work is happening. One thing I noted was the Meet Me at McCarthy's Monday night strolls that you were doing, and it looks like some pretty good turnout. I kind of got involved in one of them, and lots of folks showed up for that.
Absolutely. And Arcenio, why don't you just step in and give us? This is really part of Arcenio's Arcenio and Aurora's brainchild, and we were thrilled at the turnout, the results, and like let's let him tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, and don't hesitate to let folks know what it was all about, how it even got started.
Sure. Yeah, thanks. Meet Me McCarthy's. We finished our inaugural year. 21 Mondays we gathered.
Yeah.
Excuse me, on the plaza. Awesome. to walk, jog, run, or do nothing. You know, and that was by design. We didn't want to twist anybody's arm about doing a fitness program. We more than anything wanted them to come and show up and just make that space vibrant. We keep saying the word.
I know,
vibrant.
yeah, but vibrancy is essential. You know, if you want to feel good about your life. Yeah.
Exactly. And throughout the course of the summer, we had a lot of people show up. A very, very diverse group of people showed up. Young ones, really young ones, 2-year-olds, all the way up to 80 somethings. You know, and then from all corners of Taos County. So it was really nice.
And you mentioned the walking or running. I know you had put together some suggested routes around the downtown area that folks could do a smaller loop, medium-sized loop, or a bigger loop if they wanted to walk or run. And you also mentioned fitness, and I know that wasn't ultimately the goal as much as it was to just kind of experience downtown, right? A lot of people don't see it on foot.
Exactly. But, if you take a drive through downtown, you see tourists really enjoying the new boulevard-style sidewalks we got now and the crosswalks, and I really was trying to highlight that as well, and trying to show everybody that we got some really nice stuff now, especially on that main drag. But things are starting to perk up as well on the plaza, and we want to really highlight those through the in the coming.
I know we
years.
have to talk a little bit about the plaza and the gazebo. I saw crew going gangbusters there, getting it ready for Halloween, which is tomorrow, and I know Mainstreet had their hands in that.
Yeah, that's correct, and we're really excited to see that project moving forward. Part of our role was, for one, securing some large capital outlay investments. So we secured $1 million for public infrastructure improvements on the plaza. Wow. The town developed the original plan and took on the first phase, which was really fixing some key underlying infrastructure, which happened a season ago in our downtown. And then the county picked up the next step, and so they're really making some improvements to the above ground public infrastructure. Yeah. And the gazebo was first on that list. The gazebo hadn't really had much love in a long time. There was some leaks in the roof. We know that the leaks had kind of led to some damage for when there was live music and rain at the same time happening on the plaza. So the county took on really making some improvements to the gazebo and the surrounding area. They've been absolutely flying on that project actually in the past 6 weeks or so.
Yeah. And
our role is essentially, after securing the money, we got to keep tabs. We have to, for reporting purposes. We kind of need to know like what the state of the project is, so we can report back to the state. And if there are any change orders, things like that. And also it's to keep the community informed and updated. I think that's an important piece, even if there's nothing visibly that seems to be changing over the course of a week or two. A lot of times there is, and just the simple act of communicating directly with the community, making sure that they see what's happening, they hear about things moving, they hear about all the things that are being done is critical. So you can, again, on our website, we have a press room that has all of the write-ups that Arcenio puts together after the biweekly construction meetings. So, check out all those details there to see everything that's really going on with the gazebo.
Well, I love those two examples of some of the work Mainstreet's doing, the gazebo and securing all that funding to make the renovations happen, and then Meet Me at McCarthy's, right? Two very different ways to affect a community. Before we jump into a break here, I know we're gonna dig in and talk a little bit about what the Taos Plaza and just in general a gathering space like Taos Plaza means to folks. But I've noticed after the construction, especially those the electric boxes, the utility boxes on the street corners, which I feel like over the last several years have seen some art decorating. And Jackie, I think, was involved with that program. And then I think I saw some new artwork on some of these electric boxes around downtown as I make my weekend strolls. That was a Main Street initiative.
Yeah, and that was actually a really fun project, and that was the second iteration of that project. And as you mentioned, Jackie Kolbenschlag. Sorry, Jackie, if you're listening. She came to me originally with the idea, and I think that's one way that Main Street can really help is when motivated people like Jackie come along and they say, I have this great idea, I know how to do it, can you help? And we try and make sure the answer is yes as often as it can be. And so we really provided some organizational backing to that type of project, helped seek some additional funding, helped pull a lot of threads together with the planning, and then Jackie was able to just run with it. So this year we had all student artists. I think we had almost 60 submissions. We had to narrow that down to 18. There are 18 traffic signal boxes in all of Taos County. So we tried to cover each one of them with a piece of student art. Each student artist received a stipend. We actually had a reception for them at the Revolt Gallery once it was all done. So it was just really cool to see, public artwork, these young aspiring artists to kind of like get their artwork out there in a publicly visible space and be able to get paid for it, be proud of it.
That's awesome.
Those are just kind of like great feel good projects.
Yeah.
Although they are a lot more complicated than you would think. It takes a lot more time, effort, funding to actually pull something like that off than I think one would realize.
Sure. And I'm not surprised to hear that. A third example, another great example of the work that Main Street's doing, right? So we talked about a significant renovation to the gazebo in the Plaza, getting people engaged and walking around downtown, getting student children, the artists involved, and just kind of beautifying street corners. All of the very simple things, maybe not that simple, like you said, it takes a lot of work to do it, but it's projects like that make me realize how important and vital Taos Main Street is, and just the community involvement to do this kind of stuff. It is 22 minutes past 9 o'clock. We have to take a quick break here, and then when we come back, I want to have a little conversation about what the Plaza means. Being a resident of the downtown area, I have some thoughts, and I'd love to hear what you guys, how you guys interpret what Taos Plaza means and what we should be using that space for. We'll be right back. Thank you, Kush Culture. It is 23 minutes past 9 o'clock here on KNCE. It is Thursday, October 30th. Mornings on Main Street. Taos Main Street Radio underway. Charles and Arcenio are in studio. My name's Howie. Sticking around until 10 o'clock today. Welcome back, guys.
Yeah, thanks for having us again, Howie.
So we talked about all that great stuff that Main Street's been doing since our last episode of Mornings with Main Street. Did I have my preposition wrong? Are we calling it Mornings with Main Street? Mornings on Main Street?
On Main Street.
Mornings on Main Street. Okay, good. Mornings on Main Street on the radio. So we had a conversation yesterday or a couple of days ago. We kind of got together to talk about this radio program, and the conversation turned to Taos Plaza, right? Which is we've been talking about all the work, and it's the center of town, and it obviously has some historical significance here in this town. And I imagine for all the Main Street communities around New Mexico and all of the towns, really, even the neighborhoods here in northern New Mexico, kind of have a central gathering place, right? And it's, I guess, arguably how these little communities and towns even formed, right? They just were a common space. So, Arcenio, you grew up here in Taos?
I did, yes.
Yeah. So, in Taos proper, or did you grow up near?
I grew up all over the place, man. My parents used to drop me off with whoever would be willing to take us, you know. But mostly Arroyo Hondo was where I spent some of my younger years. Yes.
Yeah. Another example. I lived in Hondo for a little while, and they have even a little plaza area.
That's
right.
correct.
They used to do. I don't know if they still do their fiestas. They used to have like a little gathering every summer, right there. at the Bend in the heart of Hondo.
Yeah, actually, that was my dad that used to put on the Arroyo Hondo Fiesta. So that was my sole inheritance from him. Was supposed to be to carry on that tradition, but unfortunately, it's kind of faded.
Yeah, but there's always hope to get it back. I know your focus now is on Taos Plaza.
That is correct. Yeah.
We were speaking with the folks at Bent House the other day too, just about kind of understanding the history of the plaza. I know here in the Southwest and New Mexico especially, there's multiple cultures that kind of dictated how these hubs originated. Charles, do you have any thoughts on like the significance of the history and if it's still relevant today? The reasons why these plazas kind of came to be?
Sure, and by no means am an expert.
Of
in
course,
any of this. Let me just preface everything I'm about to say. I think originally they were born out of a form of necessity. They were born as for protection. Easily defensible spaces. Where walls and gates could be erected, and people who lived outside the plaza could easily come into the plaza for protection. Nowadays, I think those have changed in around the world. I mean, there are plazas obviously all up and down Central and South America, and even in the old world in Europe. You see lots of plazas or piazzas in Italy, and I think they really still hold a significant role, and that is they provide a central gathering place. They provide some sense of social glue. They provide a sense of people being able to just come, people watch, meet new people, engage in commerce. I think we are in a day and age where we're seeing a decay in human connection. Maybe the devices that we all carry around in our pockets and all of the artificial intelligence and social media, I think is kind of pulling us away from each other. And a plaza can really help connect people. And I don't want to understate the importance of that. I think the element of human connection, community building that a central space like a plaza can offer is really hard to measure. I mean, not only does it benefit the community in terms of the social fabric, but I think there are lots of economic benefits that can come along with that as well.
Yeah, we could talk about tourism too, because I imagine for generations, Taos Plaza and town centers, town squares, main streets were always the destination for someone who had never been to a community before. And so tourism perhaps evolved out of that, right? If it was a place for trade or people who were traveling across the country would stop, and it was a logical gathering place. And Taos Plaza, I'm sure, was no different. I spend a lot of time downtown because I live there, and even in the years I've been here, over 20 years, and I feel like it's shifted. Like you said, maybe the devices, maybe the attention of the youth especially is elsewhere, but people still do gather, and I marvel at how many people come and just will read a book on the plaza. Kit Carson Park, right? I mean, we can kind of talk about the greater downtown area, although the center is kind of geographically the plaza, right? And so yeah, I feel like I've seen a change in how the plaza is used. There's all the shops, and it's a lot of tourist activity. But I've also seen that the more tourists are strolling through the downtown area and through the plaza, it kind of encourages locals to do the same, right? I know I've been caught up in that. I'm like, wow, there's quite a bustle down here. I think I'm going to get in on that and just hang out and stroll around and meet people. Like you said, it's still kind of that gathering place. Arcenio, I'm really interested to hear what it was like when you were growing up. I don't know how many years ago that was, but it was before my time, I'm sure. Did you see much change in Taos Plaza or even the smaller gathering places in Hondo or other communities around northern New Mexico?
Yeah, and I should probably mention that I also grew up in La Placita, which is right there at the end of La Placita on the north side and the main drag. That was my family's property as well. So it didn't occur to me that the word La Placita also is a derivative of a plaza.
Small plaza.
Smaller
I guess,
plaza, yeah. And I'm starting to notice that there's a lot of plaza names all over the area. But one of the things that you mentioned about the greater area of downtown, we used to do a lot of stuff in the plaza, but more importantly, downtown. And I think we talked about this. It was a place to go get your hair cut, to go buy shoes, to go eat, to go catch a movie. There was a longtime doctor that was downtown, Dr. Dominguez, who was right on the main drag, and everybody used to go to Dr. Dominguez because he had his own pharmacy, and it was easy to go and get your checkups and then get your meds right away. The dentist also was downtown, so everything was right in that little space. And so, yes, it has changed tremendously. I was even mentioning the swimming pool that was downtown. That used to be a big deal for us kids to go down there and do something.
So the plaza's not going away. I mean, the downtown area, any community's downtown area will never go away. And of course, in the last 50 years, cars have allowed things to be happening much further away, and it might seem less relevant for people to use the downtown area for those places, like you said, for doctors' offices and the swimming pool and stuff like that. But it will forever remain the hub of the community. And but there is a challenge, obviously, in keeping it relevant and keeping it thriving. And what was the word that we said?
Vibrant.
Vibrant, yeah. So, I think we can learn a lot from history, right? I mean, even though it's a different time and a kind of different communication and transportation, but I think we could learn from how these places were used historically for generations and generations. And I think of Taos Pueblo and how their plaza area is still the hub of their community there. And there's the church, right? And we didn't talk too much about that. I imagine a lot of these gathering places formed around the churches, which was obviously a gathering place as well and bringing community together. So, I don't know. I mean, I know we're not going to come up with any solutions here about how we can get people downtown and utilizing the plaza, but it's just such an essential component, I think, to any community. It is for me. And because I live downtown, I might not spend as much time on the plaza as I would like to, and as others, but it's there. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah, that's right. And I think maybe we're not going to have some magic wand type of solution right now to this, but I do think part of it is a bit of a mindset shift, and I think we do have to kind of look at the historical context, like Arcenio mentioned, and when in our many conversations, he's talked at length, about how much everyday weekly life kind of occurred for residents of the community, like in and around the plaza area. I would say in a pretty short time frame, by the time that I kind of came up and was running around that area at times and going to play Little League in the park, late 80s to the 90s, I think a lot that dynamic had already substantially shifted. And as a kid, like, we were not that welcome on the plaza. I mean, I think we kind of have to be really, really clear-eyed and real about when we do talk about those dynamics. And, I mean, there was a sign on the side of the gazebo for decades that said, no skateboarding or inline skating. And back in the late 80s and early 90s, the plaza was one of the few like hardscapes in the community, right, before the Youth and Family Center, before the skate park, where kids could come and ride their skateboards, and they were quite often chased away, like youth of this community not being welcome in the center of the community.
Yeah.
And so, again, I think those dynamics, I can't put a finger exactly on when that shift happened or how it happened, but I do think it happened at some point. And, when we think about these things, we're not saying like, look, the plaza needs to be exactly as it was, back in the 50s or the 60s, where, the only commerce that was happening all happened there. We know that's Taos has grown. It's spread out. We have We have, department stores. We have Walmart. We have other things now, and that's good.
Yeah.
But I think we just need to be creative of how we think about the plaza and its use. And, Meet Me at McCarthy's, I think, provides one tangible example of like, hey, just a simple activity can bring people to the plaza. And we don't need to put any pressure on anything else. We don't need to have all of the events and activities focused on commerce necessarily. We can just give people more reasons to come, to engage, to build community together. And an outcome of that is commerce, because the more time people spend in a place generally leads to them spending money in a place. Sure. After you've been there for an hour or two, and somebody gets hungry, it's like, well, why don't we just, there's 3 restaurants right here, let's just walk into one of those instead of getting in our car and leaving.
Yeah,
so
or the coffee shops, or folks who just go to the coffee shop and then suddenly, oh, I'm in the plaza now.
Yeah, Taos Plaza Live provides another great example. I mean, there was this summer, it's like you could go there on a given Thursday night and there are hundreds of people just like dancing, listening to music together. Like that's a beautiful example of how community can utilize that space and build. There are other cultural events that I think used to take place on the plaza that I think we want to continue working with the folks and the organizations that put those on to maybe help revive and revitalize a little bit of those things. So there are more cultural events. Again, the idea is like, we just need to give the community more reasons to be downtown on a more regular basis.
And just to remind them that it's there, it's a place for them, and it's accessible. And we could get into the parking perhaps in another episode, but it's easy to get to the plaza and it's easy to park your car and spend some time. I live down there, so I feel like I have the added privilege of having my car parked and I can just walk around. I'm glad you mentioned Taos Plaza Live, because I've lived down there for so long and I've participated and performed at Taos Plaza Live. I think someday how great it would be if that wasn't like a special occasion, right? Plaza Live is like such a big thing. There's so much preparation that goes into it. Now with the new gazebo, I imagine it's going to be a little easier and more efficient to put on events like this. And that's something I love so much about living downtown is when there's an event like Plaza Live or the concerts in the park, there are just people everywhere, and they don't realize that this isn't how it always is, right? People from out of town are strolling around like, oh man, I love this town. There's just people everywhere. And for someone who lives down there, it's the same thing. It's like, yeah, this is how it can be. Just, people doing stuff, hanging out in the park, in the plaza, seeing music. I love the buskers. They're set up on the John Dunn shops and over by World Cup. It kind of has almost like an urban feel where it's just like where these people hang out. And I think it's attainable.
I do. And I think you just touched on something that's actually really important to elevate in conversation, to think about, to understand, is that, people attract people. And we've used the word vibrancy a bunch of times. Tourists and visitors, they are contributors to that vibrancy by just kind of the sum, by more people being downtown. However, I would postulate that they're not really the source of vibrancy in a downtown. So the more music, the more cultural activity, the more sort of local people are just downtown, makes it a much more interesting place for our visitors to be and to spend time. If a visitor comes and, let's say they came to ski and they want to come downtown, and they come downtown and there's really nothing happening at all downtown, they're going to spend a very short amount of time there. They might walk around and go into a few shops and then head back. So the more things that are happening, the more people that are there on a regular basis, give our visitors more opportunity to spend more time, and more time means more money.
Yeah. I think about, Upper Ben Street started doing the First Fridays, the Harwood, there's a whole bunch of First Friday activities. And, again, I'm able to observe it living downtown. just staying open an extra hour or two, and people come down from the ski valley if it's in the wintertime or in the summer, they're doing their outdoor activities. They come, and I could just tell it's so satisfying for them to have kind of a landing place and to kind of just unwind after a day of whatever they're doing. And even if it's just window shopping, a lot of my shop owners on Mainstreet, they welcome people. Just walk by. They might not even walk into the store, but the store's open and the people do their window shopping. It probably sticks in their head that this is a place we're going to come back. That's downtown Taos. This is great. It's hopping, And even on a chill winter night where it's, people are moving slow and it's not like loud music. In the summertime, you might get a lot of that. But just the fact that it's available for people. And like Arcenio, you were saying, the new sidewalks are wider. And it seems like such a small detail, but I don't know. I feel a lot more comfortable, a lot more safe walking on those sidewalks, and it's just going to encourage me to do it more often,
Right. And one of the things that I did want to touch on as well is that what Charles said about that, perhaps maybe there was an era where there was an unwelcome, thing that happened. But
yeah.
The merchants, I'm getting to know the merchants really well, that they want to see a lot more local foot traffic.
Sure.
And they're welcoming, and they're really nice, and they want to see more of that. And so we've been working with them and visiting and making the rounds regularly, and they're fully on board.
That's great to hear, because I know there's, if there's just one person who doesn't want the kid on the skateboard, then it kind of becomes like a focus point. It's like, oh my God, there's a problem with skateboarding on the plaza. But, it's just what people choose to put their attention to, and, choosing one's battles is a big part of it, and I feel pretty optimistic that everyone can really just get along and make it a destination for locals and tourists alike. We have to take another break. It is 9:41, 20 minutes before 10 o'clock. Mornings on Mainstreet Radio, once a month here on KNCE. Charles and Arcenio from Taos Mainstreet are in studio. You can check out taosmainstreet.org to see more about what is happening with Taos Mainstreet. Get yourself signed up for the newsletter. When we come back, I'd like to hear a little bit more about the gazebo, because I know it was the intention was to have it ready for Halloween, which is tomorrow. And from what I'm hearing, it sounds like it might be ready. And then let's talk about some of the other work that Mainstreet's doing and kind of wrap things up here for this episode.
Sounds good.
We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Morning on Mainstreets, everybody. I'm Charles. We've got Howie and Arcenio with us in the studio, and we're continuing our conversation about the plaza. We did want to touch a little bit more on the construction that everybody's been seeing happening on the plaza, and I did want to, maybe this is a little uninteresting, but I think that something really important is happening here with just this project. I think recently, over the course of the past several years, we're seeing pretty massive public investment happening in our downtown. We saw the DOT's roadway project, which we all know was quite challenging, quite long, but they're done now, and that was tens of millions of dollars just in our little downtown stretch alone that was invested in that area. We see the county investing a lot of money to bring the county courthouse back online. We see the town of Taos investing in purchasing the bank building and really trying to come up with some creative new uses for a building like that. We hope that they're very community driven and minded at the end of the day. And we see the use of this capital outlay money that Taos Mainstreet secured, really trying to build up public infrastructure with the plaza improvement project. So this is the second phase. And why that's so critical is because, something that's really tried and true across the country is that private investment typically follows public investment. You don't see a lot of business owners or new businesses or new creatives chomping at the bit to come into an area where the public infrastructure is all really beat up. Right. Things haven't been updated in years or decades. And so when these things start to happen, there really is a synergy between the public and the private sector. So there's more space for new creative and cultural events now on the plaza. There's new reasons for new creative entrepreneurs to maybe think about doing something, down on the plaza that maybe they hadn't previously considered. So that's a really important dynamic. And I do want to stress, I think I think this is a really exciting time for our downtown and for our plaza. We all know the challenges, but I think there are things that are starting to happen here that just haven't happened in decades, and I am thrilled and excited to help build the future of downtown. I wanted to throw it over to Arcenio. He's been, really keeping his ear to the ground on the actual construction process that's going on right now. He's been attending the biweekly construction meetings. Arcenio, give us a little update on just kind of the scope of work and where the progress in the project stands now.
And we're talking about the gazebo project specifically.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. And I think you mentioned something earlier about there's a lot that goes on that people don't see or don't know is happening. And a lot of it is underground stuff like redoing electrical lines or water lines or irrigation lines or things like that. And for a while there was a little bit of panic because we got Halloween, like you said, Howie, tomorrow. And people were like, there's no way they're going to be done. But they were doing those important jobs underground, and it was important to specify that was happening, And so even underneath the gazebo, there's a lot of work going on down there that people just can't see as you're driving by, but they're doing a lot of really neat improvements,
and especially in a town like Taos is so old and such old infrastructure, and just seeing it in the homes and apartments, it's constantly upgrading and bringing into kind of the modern age here. And it's no wonder that they spend all that time and keep things torn up for so long because they got to get under there and clean it all up.
Yeah, exactly. But now, so as Charles said, I used to attend the biweekly meetings, the construction meetings, to hear about all those things and then to report out. But in the last couple of weeks, you can really see the progress and the fine-tuning that's occurring. And instead of waiting 2 weeks to get an update, you almost have to be there hour to hour. And I think you can allude to that as well, Howie.
Sure. Well, I've seen it, even just the fence coming down. And they were going gangbusters. I saw 10 people probably on site a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
And granted, they're like cramming, trying to get it done. But it's great to know that there's the resources out there and it's actually happening.
Yeah, the county have set up a really awesome team to get that done, and of course all the subcontractors that have been part of this as well. They're really, I think they're really conscientious about our wants and needs here, and kudos to them for sure.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to seeing it in the coming days because it's probably, like you said, every hour they make a little bit more progress, and then for the big Halloween downtown celebration that the town of Taos puts on. Tomorrow, all afternoon, it'll be put to the test.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a new ADA ramp. So now people that have any level of mobility challenge are actually going to be able to get into the gazebo and sit under the gazebo. They had to redo a lot of the electrical work and really update it. So now I think more music is going to be a lot easier to happen in the plaza. They fixed the roofing, which was causing some damage, water damage to the frame of the gazebo, the posts, as well as anything that might be underneath the gazebo when it rains. They expanded the bandstand of the gazebo, so there's actually now more space for performances to pull out a little bit from underneath the gazebo, and that's really exciting. Arcenio, I know that we've had a lot of comments or questions about what's underneath the gazebo. We know that those were bathrooms at one point in time, but they no longer are going to be bathrooms. What's the plan for underneath?
So they're restoring underneath. They're refixing the walls. Yes. So I've heard different stories about what that downtown used to be. I heard that it might have been a jail at one time. It was a place where they would all the confiscated things that the Taos police used to end up down there, and the locks weren't exactly that, they're foreboding.
Have you been in that space? Have you personally been down there?
I have, yes.
Yeah. And is it, now I know I'm getting a little off point here, but is it like a full basement, like headroom? You could stand in there?
Yeah.
It's like a separate floor, basement or something.
Correct.
Yeah.
And there's multiple rooms down there.
There is. Wow.
And there used to be 2 stairwells because there was a boys and girls bathroom down below. But now they just have the one, and they have a really neat contraption to keep people out of there.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
so it's going to be way more secure, and it's going to be way more usable.
Yeah, that's cool. It's cool to think. I know, and we could spend an episode talking about these mysterious tunnels that are all around the downtown area that I've been hearing about, and I imagine that's part of the network there underneath the plaza.
Yeah, I would imagine so. I bet there's a mysterious door somewhere.
Sure. Well, that's great to hear that so much work is happening, and it's going to be there for the public to see today and tomorrow for the Halloween celebration. That's great. Let's just remind folks, though, that Mainstreet's role in securing the funds for that gazebo project, because that's a big deal.
Yeah, that is a big deal, and it takes considerably more time than, again, I think a lot of people understand. And the reality too is that New Mexico Main Street, they don't, you've got to kind of prove your mettle to some extent as a program before they're going to award you and your partners a significant amount of money for public infrastructure work. So we had to really be diligent for 4 years or so before we could even think about applying for money like that. If you start, nobody in their first year gets $1 million of capital outlay money for public sector improvements, because the capacity as a program and the partnerships just aren't well developed enough.
Sure. So $1 million was the amount that came in for the Plaza project specifically?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct. And, as soon as this gets spent down, the beauty is once you've demonstrated success and your ability to spend these funds down, there's a lot of capital outlay funds allocated all over the state, not just through New Mexico Main Street, but through the legislature, that are not being spent. Spending that type of money is more complicated than it should be, maybe.
Right. Yeah.
And so we're already thinking about, okay, they've got this phase, they've got another phase for the plaza that they'll probably start in early spring, and we're already looking towards formulating some plans and ideas for applying for more money.
Yeah.
And we want to keep being able to deliver that kind of public investment to continue to enhance our public infrastructure.
Yeah.
Downtown.
And like you said, the private money tends to follow the public money. So this little project, I'm sure, is going to raise some eyebrows like, oh, maybe I need to get in on this before it's too late. Let's take one of the properties we have in downtown and really make it capitalize on that improvement that's happening, courtesy the Taos Main Street.
Absolutely. We're again, I think it's a really exciting time for the plaza, for our downtown.
Awesome. All right. Well, we're kind of winding down here, running out of time. Is there anything else you want to touch on before we kind of wrap up and talk about what's next?
Yeah, absolutely. So a few things just on the horizon that I want to mention. I think some of these things we will really dive a little deeper into in some of our upcoming episodes. One of the things that we're really excited about is the BRIC. That's the Business Resource and Innovation Center. That is something that we are looking, have built a really extensive partnership with the town, the county, our local SBDC, the Chamber of Commerce, UNM Taos, the Hive. And the idea behind the BRIC is there's a few things. One, it's to create really a one-stop shop for businesses in Taos who are seeking resources and support, permits. There'll be space in the BRIC for both town and county staff to kind of help streamline the permitting process around businesses in Taos, just reduce kind of the redundancies or the strain that can put on aspiring entrepreneurs. So that's something that we're really excited about, that we will there will be much more coming on that soon. We continue to diligently work and host the Destination Stewardship Network. There's two really key initiatives, exciting key initiatives that are emerging from that work, and that's a cultural events fund that's we're very close to launching. And again, the idea there is to kind of incubate and provide some level of investment and financial support to small cultural events or events that haven't quite happened yet, to really, again, use the plaza and use other areas throughout the Taos County for more cultural activities and events. So that's really exciting. Stay tuned for that.
Awesome.
Also, we have the Tourism Innovators Cohort that's being led by the UNM Taos Hive. That's a really fascinating program and approach. They're really looking at innovators that are already here in the community, that are just taking these really innovative approaches to tourism, who are thinking outside the box, who are thinking about new ways that we can create experiences for visitors that are meaningful, that are equitable. So that's really exciting. Again, stay tuned. Stay tuned for that. In the coming year, we certainly are going to be launching season 2 of Meet Me McCarthy's.
Nice.
I don't think I need to say much more about that, but that was enough. That was so successful that we're obviously going to do that again,
and not have it for the winter. A little too cold to be strolling through downtown.
But we are going to use that as a model again. Instead of planning kind of large one-off events, we're going to really hone in on how we can create more regular activity for the community to come and be downtown. Cool. I did want to give a quick shout out to the county and a partner of ours who is engaged in the Cultural Treasures Project. I don't know if anybody's heard anything about this yet.
We've been talking about it. I've been seeing the signs, the art signs around town.
Absolutely. So we've been participating as a partner in that project. That's also something that sort of came out of the Destination Stewardship Plan and efforts. And when we do talk about the Plaza and we do talk about these activities that used to be there, the history of the Plaza, the cultural event, the Cultural Treasures Project is a really cool way to actually record some history of what used to be there or what used to happen there. So you can search the Cultural Treasures Project. It's on the county's website, and they're really looking to collect information from all over the community about what does the community actually treasure? What are things that used to happen? Who are the people who are these treasures? Who are our storytellers? It's a really, really important project for future planning, for future community and economic development. It has land use implications, zoning implications. I'm probably not doing it a ton of justice right now. But again, check out the Cultural Treasures Project on the Taos County website, and please, learn more. Really, really fascinating stuff going on.
Awesome, and I expect we'll be talking more about that independent of Mainstreet as the project continues. Charles, Arcenio, thanks so much for another fine episode of Mornings on Mainstreet. We're going to be doing this once a month, probably the third Tuesday of every month. And it's still very much a works in progress, so we'll just see how it goes for next month, and we'll keep people informed here on KNCE as to when and where and what to expect. Awesome.
Yeah, thank you, Howie. Great time, and again, all the listeners, keep plugged into what's going on downtown. Keep plugged into Taos Main Street. Check out the website, taosmainstreet.com, social media at Taos Main Street. Sign up for the newsletter. There's lots happening. It's an exciting time. It's a good time to be Mornings on Main Street.
Awesome. Thanks so much, guys.
Thanks.
Have a great day.